Hi, we're live. Sam, it's nice to do this with you. I'm Darcy Haggith. This is Grupo Behind the Fuel. We're blessed to work with so many great athletes on the elite level or the national level, and I personally love hearing about someone's journey, how they got to where they are today, and that'll kind of be a main theme as we go through. And maybe I should give you an opportunity. I should tell you, Sam, these are completely unedited. We don't process afterwards. So when I mix up or whatever, that's all in, and we just want it to be authentic and just real. So welcome, Sam. I should have did that right at the beginning.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be able to sort of share my story with you and just get to go through this experience with you.
Awesome. So maybe just tell them who you are rather than me tell you who
Oh
you are.
gosh, perhaps my least favorite thing to do, but I'll do it for you, Darcy. Well, my name is Sam Schachter. I'm a beach volleyball player. I've been playing on the national team for, I think this is my 17th year. I'm 35, turning 36 this year. I've been to two Olympics, one in 2016 and most recently in Paris in 2024. I've been to two Commonwealth Games. I have silver in both. And my first major multi-sport event was Pan Am Games in Toronto. I started playing.
That was 2016, right?
2015, yeah, right before the Olympics.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I played upwards of 120 international events, and I've still going somehow, holding on, but I'm still loving it. But yeah, that's sort of my quick resume on court.
Awesome. So I was lucky enough to Lucas and I came to your induction camp. Geez, I don't know if it's 3 weeks ago now, a couple weeks ago, and we got to be there with Catherine and talk nutrition and do some sampling. Importantly for me, I got to see the facility. What a cool environment that you guys have. Certainly has lots of sand, so you can do what you need to do on the court, but there's some other resources there. So I was happy to see the facility that you guys have to work out. And I think, Sam, the other thing is it struck me the community that exists within that environment. I mean, because you all have to come to this, like, especially in the winter, you probably don't have that same sense of community in the summertime months or the fair weather months, because you're not coming to the same place all the time. So maybe just comment on that. Maybe I'm wrong about the community, but it looked like there might be a pretty good community there.
No, you're dead on. I mean, during those winter months, we're all coming to the same spot, the same two courts basically, and we're training together. And obviously, we're not traveling for competition, so we're around each other and building that community and that culture and sort of that high performance environment that we're all striving for. Getting to learn from each other, sharing coaches. So you develop a little bit of a unique relationship because normally you're competitors with each other. It's kind of unusual actually having to sort of rely on each other in a way that you wouldn't typically think about relying on your competitors for your own improvement. So it leads to sort of an interesting dynamic that changes throughout the years because the personnel changes and integrating into a new national team. And then during the summer, often we're breaking up, traveling, playing, there's almost like a tiers on tour, so we're often not at the same tournaments. There's multiple levels of competition and different choices that we all have to make. So sort of breaking up and coming back together in the winter is sort of interesting because you get to sort of see how teams are changing and sharing with each other again, and sort of you're almost coming back a new team. So it's fun in that way.
Well, that's awesome. Good insight. So what I like to do on these sessions is give someone like yourself an opportunity to tell us about your journey. Like my journey would be boring, but maybe yours isn't. Tell us about like how it is that you you said you're playing for 17 years. Is that how long it is? Like
Professionally,
that's
yes.
professionally
Yeah.
a crazy long time. So I'd love to hear early days, and then take us through in as much detail as you wish, to where now you're playing. And I have a question about this, and you can work this in. And just I find it fascinating that you're partnered with someone. Is he how old is Johnny?
Johnny, I believe, is 2001 baby, so I think he's like 25.
25. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to understand that,
Yeah.
how that goes. Is his youth spur you on, or like I just wonder how that's going to be for you, or how it is, because it's not brand new. So
Yeah, well, we'll start at the beginning.
okay.
And I'll work my way into that question, I guess. I'm a classic Canadian kid. I come from a sporty family, so I grew up playing a lot of different sports: hockey, basketball, volleyball, baseball. My dad played football a little bit, so I sort of grew up doing everything. In fact, I think the only sport my dad didn't play was volleyball.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, so obviously that's how it works. That's the sport I went into. But I didn't really end up specializing in volleyball until around like late high school. I was big into tennis, golf, and hockey until I think just mid high school. I sort of tapered off of hockey. It was a little dangerous, and it started to impact my other sporting endeavors as well.
Hmm.
But I went to university at Wilfrid Laurier. I played for a couple years indoor volleyball there, and indoor is sort of how I think most volleyball players start in Canada, just because of
Yeah.
our climate. And playing indoor is sort of all year round. And then in grade 9, I think, was my first exposure to beach volleyball. One of my club coaches thought I would be good just because of my well-rounded skills, and that's sort of what you need for beach volleyball. And I thank him immensely for that. Mike Chumley, big shout out. And then once I sort of graduated into university, I became much more serious with beach. And after my second year of university, I I was the first Canadian team to win at gold at Junior World Championships ever. And at that point, the national team approached me and they said, "I think you're done with the indoor stuff, pal. You're going to come and play beach full time. You're going to move to Toronto." So that was pretty petrifying, because I was, with all my friends at university. I was loving it. I had to leave my team, which was, we were sort of growing together and we were a young team.
Yeah.
So that was a really difficult decision. I had to move back into my home with my parents. I
Yeah.
thank them immensely for moving back into them, but anyone can understand the challenges that come with that as an early 20-year-old. So, and that's when I started traveling, and I started traveling internationally. Maybe 4 or 5 events a year, because that's all I could afford at the time.
Yeah.
And then after I missed out in London, which I wasn't really a serious contender to try and qualify for that Olympics at 22, is incredibly young for beach volleyball.
Yeah.
I
That's
joined.
2012, right?
That's 2012,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I partnered up with a guy named Josh Binstock, and he was 9 years older than me at the time. So, when you talk about Johnny being a 25-year-old and I'm 26, that's an 11-year difference. So that was sort of my first partnership. And bringing it around to that, I remember how that felt, playing with an older player and how much trust you have to put into them and learn from them. And it's a pretty enormous responsibility, because it sort of set the tone for a lot of my career, and it put me on a little bit of a speed track as far as being able to leach or learn all of that experience that he had to offer and all of those lessons, which was amazing, because then I was really well equipped by the time I had stopped playing with him at 26 after that first Olympics. I partnered with a guy named Sam Pedlow, and he was a little closer to my age, and it sort of allowed me to have all of that, that, I guess Josh was like 35 at the time that we went to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Having all of that experience sort of integrated into my game now, and it was sort of the stars aligning, just like a wonderful launch board or launching pad for my career. So I'm incredibly grateful. And then with Sam Pedlow, we unfortunately missed the Olympics in 2020 by one spot. Sort of got a little bit derailed with COVID, and that really affected our season. And we were dealing with injuries at the time, so that was a pretty challenging point in my career. And then resetting and qualifying in Paris with a throwback, Dan Deering, whom I used to compete against a lot when I was younger and is my age. And now deciding to continue for sort of seeing year by year how it's going. But now I think I'll be in with Johnny. He's incredibly talented. Johnny Pickett is my new partner.
Yeah.
And then here we are. So I'm 11 years older than Johnny, and trying to bridge the generational gap.
That's really interesting.
Playing with someone
do you guys have your eyes?
Yeah.
Do you look out this far, or do you look year by year? Like a lot of sports are, looking at the 4-year cycle that we deal with. Are you guys looking out there, or do you play it one year at a time at this point? I'm just curious.
So in the 4-year cycle, depending on your situation, teams, if they know they're really with the guy that they want to make the run with, you'll generally look into the 4-year cycle. But even then, it's often there's qualifying years of the Olympics in our sport. So we can only really start to attempt the qualification the year of the Olympics and the year leading to the Olympics.
Okay.
The 2 years prior are more of feel years. So you sort of see if the partnership is going to work, and you're trying to develop as a team together. And then, a couple years leading up to it, it's kind of like decision time. Is this my horse that I'm going to take to the Olympics? Because, you can't really trade up while you're in the qualification process. So you sort of have to make a decision around who you want to commit to.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've always wondered, we really early days for us, we worked with Ben and Kame, and we've worked with others, and then shortly after I would see that they're with other partners, and I just always wondered how that goes. Is it at a personal level? So at a level you see someone else, you say, hey, I think we should play together because we've been on the court so much, or is it more at a coaching or a national level where they're looking and saying, you know what, your guys' skill sets really match, even though maybe you're yin and yang, but you'd be very complementary if you guys were on the court together.
For sure.
In the same. So where does it come from, or is it a bit of both?
It's definitely always a mix. It's a mixed bag.
Okay.
There are teams who can function extremely well having no personal relationship, and it strictly being like a professional business relationship. But often that becomes very strained when performance dips and losing happens, and there's a lot of stressors that can sort of trigger fights and difficulties. Having sort of a personal foundation when there's just two of us on the court, it really you're really attached to the other person, so that relationship becomes actually really important. It's one of the most important skills that I feel like I've had to develop as a beach volleyball player is nurturing positive culture, developing good relationships with partners, and figuring out the dynamic that works. And then there's the other side of it where we are competing at an extremely high level, and you need to have a skill component and you need to have a chemistry component on the court. And in Canada specifically, our country doesn't have a very large pool of athletes to select from. For instance, Brazil or the United States has a pool of, let's say, 8 to 10 eligible partners that could be viable Olympic partners, whereas ours is much, much smaller. So you're almost forced to select from a skill standpoint or like a compatibility standpoint on the court, and then make the relationship work off the court or find ways to sort of manage that piece.
Oh, that's interesting. And you guys presumably you get there because you have the same intestinal fortitude, you have the same desire and will. So there's probably not many people that I would have met a couple weeks ago that don't have the will, but you still have to match on that level. you have to have the same desire and will. It's not just about skill. Like you need a match on many different levels. I'm sure, because if you want to, you think you need to spend more time on the court, well, you can't do it alone. Like you need to be there together. So it's interesting.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that. I think it is beyond just the skill thing, and it's beyond the relationship thing. It is, intestinal fortitude, I think, is what you said. I think that is that's exactly the way I would put it, for sure.
So I with I had no idea that you had this kind of a very similar relationship as you have now, but roles were reversed. So with that, you had someone that was your senior. This is an oddball question. Are you a better junior partner, or is Johnny a better junior partner? When you arrived, and then I'm going to ask another question. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Johnny is way more talented than I was at that age. He's like truly, I believe, like an incredible talent, like a generational talent. He's extremely physical, but also the mental stuff is there, and the willingness and drive and all of those things that we just sort of mentioned. Yeah, he's bang on.
Awesome.
I had to work really hard to get to where I got, and with not the level of talent that I was talented, but not in the way Johnny was. We brought different things to the table. I was incredibly like determined and highly competitive and aggressive, and Johnny is a lot more thoughtful, a lot more poised and composed. So different things that bring, like Josh was very similar to me in that way. We sort of had a lot of synergy in that way. And now, as I've matured and gotten older, I sort of flipped a little bit to the trying to slow it down and be a little more thoughtful and use my mind instead of my aggression and emotion as I played. And I'm synergizing with Johnny in that way a little bit, because he's a little more naturally leans to that side. So sort of good timing, but that's, I think, the difference. I would say Johnny is much better though, generally.
That's cool.
Even now.
And how are you guys managing?
So awesome.
How are you managing? Like, did you play together the full season last year, or was it part season?
We did the whole season. Whole season, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, like, a lot of people think when when you have that age disparity, there's like a very clear leader, which there are in some respects. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I sort of learned from Josh when I played with him when I was younger is he was very good at empowering me as a younger partner. Like, he would give me responsibilities. For instance, when I came up through, let's say, like the national team when I was younger, I got a lot of very structured coaching, whereas when he came up, he just went to the court and played. It was just the style of the time. Mm-hmm. So when I was, on the scene, I was very technically sound. I understood how mechanics worked. I was very taught. And he was very gamey, just knew strategy, knew how to sort of play the game within that game, like the chess game, the unspoken thing, understanding tendencies, because he could just, he had so much experience with that growing up. Yeah. So anytime there was a technical issue, he said, you're going to be able to identify, tell me if I have a technical issue and fix that. As far as strategy goes, that's my domain. I'll help us sort of prep and take care of in-game strategy, and I'll deal with the referees and I'll, get in the opponent's face and do those sort of things. So I think we were able to sort of teach each other. And it sort of balanced the relationship, or at least it made me feel like I had a vote on the team, or I had like a part on the team versus just the young guy who was, trailing behind dad, and he was just leading me around. Yeah. And I feel like I've tried to take a similar approach to Johnny, where I'm allowing him to, use the strongest aspects of his game and give him free will blocking and on side out and doing things like that, where he's so uber talented that he doesn't need guidance in that area. In fact, I can learn a ton from him. And in other respects, I can sort of help, manage the game in a way that Josh helped me.
That's interesting. Thanks for sharing. You said earlier, I think it was the early days when you first started, like maybe you traveled like 4 times, and I never thought of it this way. Like I know some other sports where you're kind of paying your own way, and you have to either fundraise or have enough money to be recognized. Like to be recognized is to go to these tournaments, do well in the tournaments, so that you can do more tournaments. But those early days where you're paying for it all, like talk to me about that. Like that's really hard. Like you're chasing something that you're super passionate about. You're putting all this time and energy in it, and it's really hard financially too.
It was incredibly stressful, especially considering the age that we were at when we were first starting to try and make that push. It's critical development years, so there's balancing training and trying to get to skill up. There's getting exposure and experience at actual tournaments, and then there's the financing of the entire process. So sort of choosing how much of the pie I'm going to be coaching at nights, so I have the money to travel, but that will take away from my recovery, and I might not be able to train as hard, but I'll be able to go to tournaments. Or do I coach a little bit less at night, train a bit more, travel, and consequently have to travel less, but miss out on some of that tournament experience that's so critical at that age too. So it's sort of like picking how you want to optimize that. It's improving. The support around the sport is improving, but it's nowhere near where it has to be able to compete with other countries, which are right now producing 21-year-old world championships, who obviously are fully funded and supported and have incredible systems in place to help them succeed.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, it's not just volleyball.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
In Canada, it's a little bit different how sport is supported. We certainly get to some insights on the U.S. side, Australia. It's different here, and I think that I've always admired the athletes that pursue whatever they're pursuing, like the time, the energy to do it. And like we work closely with some rowers, and like it's always amazed me. It's in some ways life is put on hold a little bit while you pursue this, and then there's this transition after. At least, like it sounds like Sam, you did work and you do some coaching, and I know that's part of today. That's got to be helpful in the transition to later on when you're not competing on the world stage. So I always feel for those athletes, and I know I'm off topic here, but I feel for the athlete that maybe it's running or rowing, and they're in the boat day in, day out, and that's 100%. Then it's over, and that must be such a struggle to transition, because that's all you know.
I mean, I think the biggest part of that struggle is like your identity is like very tied up into being an athlete, and the lifestyle of an athlete is incredibly different than anything after sport. But I mean, for years I was worried about this exact thing that you're describing, and it's like I'm even having like a visceral reaction to the anxiety that induces. But as I've grown a little bit older, and I've experimented with coaching a college program while I'm competing, and I've started a couple businesses, small businesses that I've had to manage while traveling. What we're not realizing necessarily at the time, but we're developing these skill sets that are transferable beyond just the need of the time, which is I need to finance my year. We're learning how to run a business. We're learning how to time manage. We're learning how to budget, we're learning how to fundraise, we're learning how to develop relationships with sponsors and do all these different things that I now realize, and my dad has just been preaching this, you're developing these skills, kid.
Yes.
You know, that are going to serve me after sport. And the work ethic as well is a big one that I think a lot of the athletes, like high performance athletes, perhaps may take for granted because they're surrounded by people with who have exactly the same work ethic, and it's actually not as common as we may think it is because of just who we're around all the time. And when we leave that environment, we go, oh, we're pretty effective human beings, and it's a little bit comforting to think that we have a little bit of a cushion after.
Yeah, it's incredible perspective. I mean, yours and your dad's. Like I always believe everything, you know, that I've done in my past prepares me for this next moment. You know, all those experiences, those relationships, those learnings. And you talk about ethic and discipline. Obviously, you have that and have to have that to be where you are. That transfers into anything, you know, that, you know, comes after this. And I always look at swimmers and rowers. You know, those people that have been, you know, doing that from a very early age. They balance that workload, they balance the school, they are good students, and then, you know, they're really good after they transition, or, you know, whatever they do. They've just developed a discipline and habits, you know, routine, all those things that are really important for day-to-day life. So yeah, it's interesting perspective. I'm glad you shared it. So, on that travel thing, like, there's a stressor of having to travel, you know, especially when you're trying to fund it. But you've been a lot of places on this planet through volleyball, and many of us in Canada right now, we've been -10 a lot here. Like, you're playing in the hot sun. Which is a challenge nutritionally. We can talk about that later if you wish.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like, tell me about that, like that aspect. Do you even get to stop and smell the roses, if you will? You get to a place, do you even get to see it, or is it's just you're so focused and time schedules are so tight that you can't even really see it and enjoy it? Like,
yeah, it's complicated. I mean, imagine you were traveling for a work trip. It's sort of similar, right?
Okay. All right.
The competitive nature, I can speak to only myself personally, is that when I get to a destination, so let's say I'm traveling to Germany. Okay. I get to Germany, and I know we have an event in 5 or 6 days. So I'm locked into training. You can't really go out drinking. You can't really go out and eat sort of the local food. You have to be very careful. We're very much on top of our nutrition leading up to a tournament because we're trying to peak. And then, you know, the tournament happens, and during the tournament, no chance. But after the tournament, unless you win the tournament, you're often so depressed that you're not exactly in the mood to go out and enjoy the city. At least me personally. So for that very specific reason, I haven't been able to experience too much. That being said, you do get some of the, like, you get some of the vibe of the city, and you get the vibe of the country, and I've for sure gone exploring. Like, it's not, especially early in my career when it was very novel and exciting. Like, we went to Beijing, I got to go to the Great Wall. You know, we go to Paris, and you get to go and try some food and see the city. You get, you know, especially for these really big events like the Olympics or these multi-sport games. Like, you get to explore a bit, and you get to sort of, you know, try to experience it the way tourists would, or if you were to go there on vacation. But often, you know, you can't really drink because you're, and I would say like 80% of the time, let's say we're going to Germany, well, next week we're in Austria.
That's what I was wondering.
So we have a tournament the next week anyways. We're not really going out and partying or drinking. Not that you know, is the be all and end all of things, but it's certainly not.
I get it. but you have to be extremely careful and
Yeah.
purposeful. Like like I am. I don't. I'm not an athlete at your level, but I'm very purposeful about what I choose to eat to do what I
Hmm.
wish to do, and um, you have to do that even more so. I I would think that it does allow for maybe a little window shopping. You've been to so many places, and you've probably created a bit of a bucket list. I really need to come back here, or we need to go here because, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And
Okay.
that's definitely something that I've gotten to check off a lot of things. And the
Yeah.
other thing is our tour, much like a lot of other tours like tennis, I would say, is
Hmm.
it's the same stops. So, we
Yeah.
have a
Okay.
perennial stop in Switzerland, Gstaad or Vienna,
Yeah.
just like Wimbledon or, French Open or
French
US
Open. Yeah.
Open, stuff like that. So it's
Okay.
sort of similar stops. So you sort of find your spots once you've been on tour for like a handful of years, and you know the area, and you can explore little new pieces every year you come back, which is
Yeah.
cool as well, which is nice.
Yeah.
But it's also the comfort of like coming back to a place that you know as a competitor
Yeah.
and an
Yeah.
athlete. That's really important for habit building and things like that.
Yeah, I think sometimes familiarity, with that comes greater ease. So the first time you go somewhere,
Mhm.
you're trying to figure everything out. If you've gone there a few times, it gets a little bit easier over time. That aspect, the playing and performance doesn't, but that aspect maybe is not as much and allows you to focus more on performance, which would obviously be great.
Yeah, big stress reducer.
Yeah. Tell me about, I'm just curious about your Paris experience. Like, the Olympics are so huge, and I mean, we're in the midst of the Winter Olympics, and I watch, I won't go in while I'm here because if I do, then I lose the whole day. But I get caught up, and I'll actually be in Italy next. I leave tonight actually,
Oh
and
wow.
I'll be in the same time zone, which will be great because I'll be able to see stuff live, and
Nice.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. But tell me, you know, it's so exciting to see you know, as a spectator. Tell me about your Olympic experience in Paris.
Well, I mean, you know, it's the pinnacle of our sport, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
just getting to experience the Olympics once was such a gift, and to be able to sort of return and try and improve on my past result, and
Yeah.
sort of use that experience to sort of brace myself for the Olympics is for an athlete, an amateur athlete
Yeah.
especially, is amazing because it's a lot of pressure, it's a lot more media, there's a lot more distractions, there's a lot more
Hmm.
nuance to the tournament, just in a sense of what you have to go through being in the village, not having the traditional cadence of a tournament the way we're used to, with
Okay.
transportation and having a cafeteria versus sort of like being in our secluded hotel with the other volleyball players. It's
Yeah.
just an exposure that we're not used to on a stage that
Okay.
we're not used to,
Yeah.
which sort of makes it so special. That's part of the thing that makes it so special. Plus, you have all
Yeah.
your family and friends there. Often
Yeah.
is you have people traveling with you that aren't usually part of the team,
Yeah.
and every single support team member is there because this is the big show. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of elements that play into it. But obviously, for us, for me, Paris in particular. When I went to Rio the first time, I didn't get to walk in the opening ceremonies because we had a game the next morning at 11 a.m. So I was able to
Okay.
be on the boats and experience that, even though it was like rainy and cold and all these crazy things were happening. It didn't matter because I didn't have to play the next day. So I just really got to enjoy
Yeah.
that experience, which was
Awesome.
such a big part of that Olympic experience, is walking in the ceremonies and everyone's so
I bet.
hopeful and it's exciting. And then being at the Eiffel Tower, I think arguably the most iconic venue in the entire Olympic Games, was
Yeah.
so cool, and they did such a good job with the court, and obviously the light show on the Eiffel Tower and playing at
Yeah.
night was so fun, and the crowds were very amazing and engaging, whereas in Rio it was like pretty mortifying. They're like, it's Brazilian crowds, they're like highly aggressive, especially if you're playing Brazil. I'll put it that way. And our first match
They're passionate,
of Brazil,
yes.
of Rio, was against the eventual Brazilian gold medalists. So they were,
Yes.
it was a hostile environment, to say
Tough
the least.
draw,
But it was,
yeah.
made it incredible also. And then, I had a different partner, I had a different team, I had a different coach, everything is so unique and different. But being in Paris was awesome. I mean, there's so many reasons I would want to travel to Paris beyond the fact that it was for the Olympics. So getting to actually explore the town, which, I had been there actually coincidentally a year before with my wife.
Yeah.
And we sort of manifested it, so that was kind of cool coming back to it and
That's awesome.
having everything come through.
That's super cool. You talked about your family and friends, like being there. Obviously, that's great. But was there an obligation? Was there a bit of a challenge with that? Like, how do you? I can only liken it when I used to do Ironman, and I was pretty zoned in, like a few days out, and I probably wasn't the best son, husband, dad, because I was so freaking focused on that. And how do you balance the joy of having those people that help you get to where you are, celebrate with them while being ready to take it on? Like, that's really a challenge, isn't it?
It's for sure a balance, for sure. Yes, it was a huge challenge, because you want to spend time with them, but you also understand that you have a job to do, and they want to spend time with you, but they understand you have a job to do. And there was no pressure, to be honest. A lot of that is sort of worked out ahead of time, and those discussions are had where I know you're coming to, you're getting on an extremely expensive flight, you're spending a ton of money to be here to have this shared experience with me.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna be able to spend much time with you. Enjoy Paris, enjoy the city, go do your thing. I think I had one dinner with them before I played, and then when I was done, that's when you can sort of enjoy it with them a bit more. But then everyone also leaves the second you're done, because they don't want to spend $1,000 a night in a hotel. So so it was tricky. But it was just knowing that they were there, and they knew that I knew, and sort of being able to say, hey, we were there with you when you got to do that. One of the most special things I think I'll be able to do in my life, and things that people dream of. So we were all there together, and I think that was like sort of the important part. And even though they weren't able to be with me all the time, and I had to be a little bit selfish to make sure I was performing. I think everyone understood the situation, so there wasn't any hurt feelings by any means. Yeah,
awesome. I want to maybe spend a few more minutes together. Can you just share to folks the day in the life, like as it is right now? What's a day in the life of Sam? How do you approach all this right now? Like, what's your schedule look like?
Yeah, well, right now. We're training this in once every day during the weekdays. We'll eventually load up to a couple practices a couple times a week, so that will be 7 practices in 5 days. We have 3 heavy lifts a week, and 2 conditioning stints on top of that. So the load is significant right now, especially for me at my advanced age, but recovery plays a huge part into that. I also do 1 session of Pilates a week. I try and roll at night, stretch, basically wake up, head to practice, do my practice in the morning often, then I have a little bit of like 1 or 2 hours to recover from that, refuel myself, make sure I'm sort of prepped for my workout, do my lift or my conditioning or my Pilates, and then I come home, by then, with everything being as spread out as it is, try and do a couple hours of work for my part-time job, and then have dinner and sort of recover in the evening with, whatever I've got to do, stretching, rolling, fueling, and then trying to get at least 8 hours of sleep is pretty critical, and do it again the next day. So as we progress sort of into the year, that shifts a little bit. Like the volume will drop in terms of practices, and the lifts won't be quite as intense as we sort of try to peak for tournaments. But generally, right now, that's the cadence.
Okay, nice. Do you? I'm always so curious. Like I know been involved with a lot of hockey players, and in the off season, if you will, they try to, maybe they want to put 10 pounds on, 5 or so kilos. So they come into the season a little bit stronger, and then by the end, with their schedule, they lose that. It's like this gradual. They're losing. Is there the same sort of aspect for you? Do you come in with a little bit more muscle mass, and then you lose, or do you stay on the same level, or try to? Just curious.
Yeah, great question. When I was younger, I was definitely trying to bulk up a bit, and I think once you sort of reach a point in your career, it's a little easier for you to hold that weight. Sometimes you get into the game of like trying to hit a certain playing weight and trying to keep that for as long as I can. I used to immensely struggle. I would leave on tour, I'd be 200 pounds, I'd come back at 185 by the end of the season. And that would just be lack of proper fueling and experience with regards to that, and just the amount of calories we're burning. It's almost unsustainable to sort of keep up with it. My partner right now, Johnny, was quite light last year, and he started to have some injury issues. So this year, he went on a gains. He's got like a super, super high caloric protein carb diet, where he has now put 15 pounds on in the span of like a couple months. Incredibly, he's working incredibly hard to try and build that foundation, because we know that when we start traveling, we won't be working out as much, so you'll drop a bit of weight, and that's typically what happens to us as athletes. We don't have a problem with trying to gain weight; we have a problem with try not to lose all that weight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the volume is just so much, and as you say, I mean, if you're not stimulating your muscles from a resistance perspective as much, there's going to be loss for sure. But that's interesting. Is there anything you want to comment on, or anything you say before I ask kind of a final question? Is there anything that you're married to
Julie,
Julie, she's not competitive today, correct? She was until...
Correct, yeah.
Will she compete again, or...?
I think she's done competing. She just recently went through a knee surgery. I think she'll come back to it to play, for fun, recreationally. But I think the international travel competitive portion of her life has passed. Okay. Yeah.
I thought it might be. I didn't want to assume. How did you guys meet? Was it obvious?
Well, funny enough, we've known each other for years and years. We knew each other in club volleyball when we were 17 years old. So we've known each other forever. Wow. We actually went to the same school, didn't run really in the same circles or talk in university. And then after she was done her university, I left university early to go play on the national team, so I'd been on the national team for a few years, and then she ended up joining the beach national team as well. And that's when we got to hang out a bunch more, and we started our relationship. But it's really fun because being married to someone who is a national team, international level athlete, gets it. Yeah, she totally gets it. So understanding the stresses of traveling and the joys of it as well, and loves that. I still love it, and loves it. But it's she's also actually still in volleyball, which is pretty cool. She's a coach for Toronto Metropolitan University in Toronto. She coaches indoor. So having a coach as a wife is always fun and interesting, because she definitely can see what's happening and understands it all. So it's fun to be able to come home and talk shop a bit, but also being able to put it aside because she knows that I don't always want it to be on, but it's fun. It's nice having someone in my corner who's done it before.
Yeah, I'm certain that the pros far outweigh any cons of having someone.
Enormously. Yes, enormously.
And I see she's pretty focused. I saw one of your posts, like you were juggling and she's making a shake, and she stayed focused on making a shake. So I like her focus. There was something else there that I was thinking about, but I do this often. I don't think I'm going to grab it. So
it escapes. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm really appreciative that you spent this time, and I love what I get to do. Learning this sort of stuff and getting this added insight to what just looks like people playing on the sand. So like I'm not, diminishing by any means. You guys know I have the utmost respect for it, but I love the insight. Is there anything, like you talked about experience and perspective, is there anything along your journey that you can think of that you'd want to share that would help or maybe inspire someone to pursue? It doesn't have to be volleyball, it could be anything. What advice or would you want to share? Do you have something?
Yeah,
you want to
for
share
sure.
that might be inspiring?
Well, I mean, first of all, I've been through like 4 Olympic cycles, so I've seen generations of players come and go while I've sort of through my tenure. So I've seen a lot, and the thing that you get from sport, and generally the things the people that succeed are the values that they develop and gather from sport. So it's so much more than just playing and executing at that level. It's a lot about the work ethic and the things that you build and the things that you learn and your values that sports create, that I think is so special about competing, about competition, and what it teaches you about yourself, most importantly.
Yeah.
But sort of in that area, the one lesson or quote that I love that I think I should share with everyone is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So I think you can be extremely talented, but if you don't really do the work, and if you don't sort of use it and pair that with that hard work, it's, to me, not wasted, but not maximized, certainly. And I think I was one of those people who wasn't oozing with talent, but I worked extremely hard and outworked a lot of my competitors. And I think that's beautiful because anyone can do that. And I think it's a choice and it's a mindset. So as long as you're adapting and you subscribe to that mindset, you can do it, which is cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that mindset takes you. I think it's really important to push the boundaries. So in an area that you love. So if you love doing something, set crazy goals for yourself, and you don't have to think about anybody else. Just set those goals for you. And it's so crazy that when you have the purpose of doing that, how it spills out in the rest of your life. So you're pursuing this particular thing, but it just spills out. So I love talking with you, Sam. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm sure our paths will cross a little bit through this season. We're super excited to be working with volleyball. Catherine and I, we had a meeting, I don't think it was yesterday, the day before. We were going over some blend tweaks. I know your feedback was probably in there. I saw some of the elements that we talked about. So we want to get those formulations just right. Hopefully the slushy is going to turn out with a little bit more sodium in it. So I think we'll have some good things to best support you, in that sun as this season goes. So thank you so much. It means the world to me that you spent some time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Obviously, so proud to be on the Grupo team, and I'm thrilled that you guys have chosen to work with us again. And you're an invaluable part of what we do, because especially for me, recovery is such a big part of my journey and where I'm at right now in my in the stage of my career. So I'm incredibly grateful to have you, and have fun in Italy tonight. Fly safe and enjoy your experience there.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks
Were considering going up to the games, but it's just so hectic, and we've got a short time. We're going to go south, and just we're going to go to Malta for the first time, so that'll be fun. So
so cool.
And then back at it the following week. So yeah, thank you so much, Sam. I'll talk to you soon, and I really appreciate it.
Cheers. Thanks.